What you're about to see is a real-life story, taken from the files of the police racket and bunco squads, business protective associations, and similar sources all over the country. It is intended to expose the confidence game, the carefully worked-out frauds by which confidence men take more money each year from the American public than all the bank robbers and thugs with their violence.
Captain Braddock. Captain Braddock. Ready.
This happens to be an antique paperweight. And like many antiques, it's more valuable now than the day it was made. This particular file has to do with an antique also. An antique swindle known as the Spanish prisoner game. This particular swindle is much older than the paperweight. It probably started some 2,000 years ago somewhere in the Mediterranean area. But it still survives today, and it still works. This case started in a downtown hotel room.
What is your name?
Senorita Elvira Santiago y Martinez.
And your mother?
My mother was killed in an airplane accident only 2 months ago.
No. Nice girls love their mother.
Don't worry. I'll love her enough when the time comes.
Posture. Aristocrats stand straight.
I'm tired.
No alcohol on your breath. Tio Rabio wouldn't like that.
You worry about Tio Rabio.
Always on our return, I find you two have been quarreling. Quarreling makes all the lines in your pretty face.
No, Tio Rabio, we weren't quarreling.
You mean I'm a liar?
Oh, no. It was just a little quarrel.
That is better. Here's the information we wanted.
Boy, here's our next meal ticket. The girl's name is Marilyn Burton.
Marilyn Burton.
Her friends call her Millie. She's majoring in biology. The mother's name is Edith. And the father's Charles Burton. He's a retired cotton grader. He's an amateur astronomer.
Oh, horoscopes.
No, horoscopes. Astronomers study the stars. Better avoid the subject if you can.
All right.
You won an exchange scholarship to the University of Hawaii in Romance languages.
Spanish, French, Italian?
Correct, and the rest of it, you do as you always have.
Yes.
The mother's name?
Edith.
And your very dear friend, the daughter?
Marilyn. Millie to me.
Good. 1346 Ferncliff Road. Take a taxi. Get there after they have a dinner. They dine early.
Yes. 1346 Ferncliff Road.
And so Elvira Martinez arrives at the Burtons' home.
I am a friend of your daughter, Millie's. Could I talk with you a moment, please?
Why, yes, of course. Won't you come in? Charles, this is a school friend of Marilyn's, Miss,
Senorita Elvira Santiago y Martinez.
Well, I'm very glad to know you, Miss,
Martinez.
Well, now, try to be calm, Miss Martinez. Any friend of Millie's is a friend of ours.
Won't you sit down, Miss Martinez?
Oh, Senor Burton, I am in terrible trouble.
Maybe you'd better sit down.
Yes, do sit down and tell us all about it.
I am in El Paso, Texas, and the bad trouble begin. And I do not know which way to turn, for in all the United States I have no friend. And then I remember that Millie's mother and father live here. So I get on the airplane and I come here to you. Millie talk about you so much at the University of Hawaii that I feel I know you. Senor Burton, I am desperate for the loan of a little money. It is a matter of life and death.
Well, of course, Miss Martinez, I'm afraid that is,
We're people of very moderate circumstances, Miss Martinez.
Oh, but I do not want it to keep, but only for a few hours. The man in El Paso, he do not like $1,000 bills. He like only $10 and $20 bills.
well,
So will you take these for me, please, and get them changed into $10 and $20 bills?
$3,000?
You mean you just want these bills changed?
Yes. I have to pay it to a man for a baggage check.
$3,000 for a baggage check?
But this suitcase contains $1,000 bills, Senor Burton.
$1,000 bills?
Why, that's $2 million.
I know. It is the money my father gets when he sells some of his oil wells in Nicaragua. But I cannot get it from the railroad station without the baggage check.
Where is the baggage check?
The guard from the prison have it.
Prison? I don't understand.
The prison in Monterey. Where do they keep my poor father?
Now. Let's try to be calm. Please.
Please forgive me. I try.
There.
Now, suppose we start at the beginning and you tell us exactly what happened.
It all started when my mother was killed in an airplane accident. That was 2 months ago. And I leave University of Hawaii and go home to Nicaragua.
Why, you poor child.
Well, go on, please.
So my father sent me to stay with my Aunt Caterina in Monterey. He said that as soon as he sells some of his oil wells, he come there for me, and we go to live here in the United States.
Go on, Miss Martinez.
Well, my father puts the $2 million in a secret compartment of his suitcase. Then he fly to El Paso, where he checked the suitcase at the railway station before he go into Mexico to bring me back.
Well, why was that?
Because my father is a very wise man. He know he have many enemies in Mexico who try to get money from him.
What happened?
When he go to the railroad station in Monterey, they arrest him.
They arrested him? But why?
His enemies make the, how you call it, up frame?
Oh, frame up.
Yes, frame up. When they take him away, he tell me to go to a hotel in El Paso, and he will write me. So I did.
When was that?
Last week. Then, when I get a letter from him, he tells me that he is sending baggage check by prison guard. He have baggage check hidden in the lining of the wallet. He tells me, give the prison guard $3,000, then take baggage check and get suitcase and send $100,000 to the prison to get him out.
Why, that's plain kidnapping.
But of course.
But couldn't you go to the police?
Oh, they would only arrest the guard. It would not help my father at all.
Then this prison guard wouldn't give you the baggage check because he wouldn't take the $1,000 bill.
Not only that, this dirty prison guard, he smell a rats.
A what?
He say, why are you willing to pay $3,000 for a wallet with nothing in it but a few identification cards? And I tell him it is none of his business. And he say to me, if you are willing to pay $3,000, I think maybe you pay $15,000.
What?
He did?
Yes, he knows my father is a very rich man. And he tells me to bring back $15,000 and he will not give me the wallet.
Then this means that you have to raise $12,000.
But only for a few hours. Then when I get my father's suitcase, I can pay back the $12,000 with much interest. I would be willing to pay $15,000 if I could only borrow $12,000 for a few hours. Don't you think that is fair?
Of course, it's not fair.
Then I paid $20,000. Anything to get my father out of that prison.
But that isn't what I meant. Even $10,000 would be too much. It wouldn't be fair to you.
Oh, but my father have many millions beside the money in the suitcase. He would not care. If only I can get him out of that prison.
I understand, but I'm just afraid that we haven't that kind of money.
Wait, Charles. It just so happens, Miss Martinez, that my aunt passed away just recently, and she left me a small inheritance. We were going to save it for Millie, but if you're sure it's only for a short while, and your father would be willing to pay some interest for it, well, after all, it isn't growing very fast in the bank, you know.
Oh, of course my father wouldn't mind. What is $20,000 to my father for my father's life?
Well, I'll sleep on it. But understand this. There'll be no question you pay me such a ridiculous amount of interest.
Charles, can't you see the poor child is nervous and upset? Come, dear. Why don't you spend the night here with us?
I don't want to put you to any trouble.
There'll be no trouble at all. Marilyn's room is just like she left it. And I'm sure she'd be very happy to have you spend the night here.
Thank you, Senor Burton. You do not know how happy you have made me, and how grateful my father and myself will always be for your kindness.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Good night, my dear.
And now let's follow up the case of the Spanish prisoner.
Now, Charles, sit down.
Yes, dear, yes.
Now, I want you to take a very practical view of this affair. That girl's father is a rich man, and you're not.
We managed to get along.
Yes, just manage, that's all. Look at this furniture. Look at that wallpaper. Why, just think what we could do with $20,000.
Yes, $20,000 would be nice. But for us to take advantage of our Millie's friend simply because she's a foreigner and inexperienced, no, Edith, I can't do it.
But it was her idea. We didn't ask her for the money. She offered it of her own free will and accord.
But she's desperate.
Charles, the bank charges 4% for a loan. Why, do you realize what 4% of $2 million is?
Yes. 4%, $2 million is $80,000, but that's for a full year. She only wants the money for a few hours.
Well, what difference does it make? Without our 12,000, she stands to lose the whole $2 million. Sometimes I think you should have your head examined.
Sometimes I think you ought to have your conscience examined.
Now, there's nothing the matter with my conscience. Someone in this family's got to be practical once in a while. I've worked and slaved and scrimped and gone without for 22 years with you, Charles Burton. And now when we get a chance, probably the only chance we'll ever have, well, you start acting like a complete idiot. No matter how you feel about it, you should have some consideration for me and for your daughter.
No, Edith, it's no use. I'll help Millie's friend, but I won't take any payment for it. Now, that's final.
Oh, very well. Have it your way.
And what are you going to do?
I'm going to write a letter to Millie.
Well, you better save the stamp. She'll be home next week.
Yes, save an airmail stamp, but throw $20,000 out the window.
Come in.
I wonder if I could have a little talk with you, Miss Martinez.
Of course, Mrs. Burton.
My husband is a good man, but he's not always a very practical man.
Yes, Mrs. Burton.
Now, after all, it really is my money. And if I have an opportunity to have it grow a little, I don't see that there's anything wrong in that. I really don't.
But of course there is nothing wrong in it, Mrs. Burton. I am only too happy to pay it. I told you this before.
I know you did, my dear. But I'm afraid this'll have to be a little secret, just between us girls.
I understand, Mrs. Burton. You can trust me. Just between us girls.
Of course I'd trust you, my dear. But I think we might as well keep this on a business basis. So here's a little note I'm making out for $20,000.
Where do I sign?
Right there.
I am grateful.
Now remember, Mr. Burton mustn't know about this.
This I promise.
Good night, dear.
Good night, Mrs. Burton.
Can't imagine what's keeping Mr. Burton. It's nearly 11:30.
Perhaps he is having some trouble cashing the bonds.
Government bonds? Why should he? They're as good as gold.
Or maybe that is him now.
Oh, no, Mr. Burton would never ring the bell. Why, it's from Millie. Miss Martinez.
I thought perhaps it was some friend of yours.
No, it's from Millie. She's arriving on the 3 o'clock plane this afternoon. Dear Mother, an average of 94, so don't have to take final exams. Arriving on 3 o'clock plane today. Love, Millie. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, yes. But you see, we must leave on the 1 o'clock plane for El Paso, if Mr. Burton gets back in time with the money.
Oh, yes, of course, but you'll be coming back tomorrow.
But certainly. I must bring back the $12,000 and the extra $20,000 for you. Then we can have a big party and celebrate with Millie.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Burton.
Did you get it?
Yes. I thought I saw a Western Union boy leaving just as I drove up.
Millie's arriving home at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Good. This must be a pleasant surprise for you, Miss Martinez.
A very sad surprise, Mr. Burton, because we must leave on the 1 o'clock plane for El Paso.
But couldn't we wait and take a later plane? I haven't seen Millie for nearly 6 months.
Oh, of course. You must wait and meet Millie when she arrives, Mr. Burton. How could I have been so thoughtless?
Oh, I don't like the idea of a young girl going to that town carrying all that money. Anything might happen.
Oh, Mrs. Burton, I am not afraid.
I don't know. This prison guard that you're going to meet has already acted up once. He might try it again. But it would be better if he were dealing with a man instead of a young girl.
Oh, but Mr. Burton, I assure you I can handle the situation.
You probably could, but you won't have to.
Very well, Mr. Burton, if you insist. But hadn't we better be leaving soon to catch the plane?
Yes, we ought to be getting a move on.
Your grip is all packed.
Yes, but I'll bet there's one item you didn't think of. This is for that prison guard, just in case he tries any rough stuff.
Everything's going fine, except the daughter's arriving on the 3 o'clock plane, which means we'll have to work fast. Now, the old man insists on going with me to make the payoff. By the way, he's carrying a gun, so remember what you said, no rough stuff.
Oh, all right, but get him across the river to the Mexican side as soon as possible. Take him to the Cantina Los Tres Hermanos. We'll send you word where to take him for the payoff.
But of course I'm sure, Mother. Don't you think I know my own friends?
But she knew all about you. And it's a big university. There are hundreds of students.
I don't know any Elvira Martinez. And I don't like the idea of Daddy's drawing $12,000 out of the bank and going off on some wild goose chase to Mexico.
What are you doing?
Give me the police department, please.
Have you lost your mind?
No, I haven't lost my mind, Mother.
But suppose it isn't a hoax. Suppose this girl is sincere. If we have them arrested, they can sue us for false arrest.
Oh, Mother.
Do you recognize any of these photographs, Mrs. Burton?
That's the girl.
Madeline Kearney, alias Spanish Rose, 3 convictions for extortion, specializes in Spanish prisoner racket.
Oh, and how she deceived me.
She's an American, Mrs. Burton, born in Chicago. Her mother was of Spanish descent.
Is there any danger? I mean, is my father in any personal danger?
It all depends.
He took his pistol with him.
Did the woman know that?
Why, yes. He took it out of the library table drawer, and she saw him put it in his pocket.
The answer to your question, Miss Burton, is yes. Your father is in danger.
But...
Hello, Hogan. What's the next flight for El Paso? I'll wait.
Just a moment. I'll find out.
Well, your major mistake, Mrs. Burton, was in insisting your husband accompany the woman to El Paso. All she wanted was the $12,000. But once she gets him across the border and he causes trouble...
Flight 47 at 4 o'clock, sir.
Well, reserve a ticket for the next flight. It'll be an hour before I can get a plane for El Paso.
Couldn't you telegraph or phone the police there?
I will, but they should have arrived in El Paso a half hour ago. Unless I overestimate the woman, she's already got your father across the border and into Mexico.
But isn't there any law in Mexico?
Certainly. But I'll have to go there to explain matters and get the proper kind of cooperation.
Isn't there anything I can do?
I'm afraid not. I only hope there's something the police can do. An all-points bulletin for El Paso, Texas. Pick up Madeline Kearney and Charles Burton.
Any idea who she's working with, Brad?
On her last conviction, there was a man called Tio Rabio who was suspected of engineering the caper, but he got away.
If it's the Tio Rabio I think it is, this may turn out very nasty. Agustino Chamorro, alias Tio Rabio. A Spanish national deported from Mexico 3 years ago. False entry. Wanted in Barcelona for murder. Suspected of murder in Guadalajara. Suspected of robbery and assault in Las Milpas, Tamaulipas. These foreigners give Mexico a bad name.
Okay, I know. The woman's an American.
But we ought to be hearing something before long. I've got 20 of my best men combing all the cantinas.
It is from the prison guard. He says for me to meet him at Camino Real and Santiago streets.
Well, how do we get there?
We will take a taxi.
Good.
Si, Capitan Gual. Capitan Braddock? Mr. Burton and the woman just left the Los Tres Hermanos in the taxicab of Pedro Morales. As soon as Morales returns, I will find out where he has been.
Here they come now. I remember. If he starts trouble, use the knife. It's silent.
I know.
Nice place for a murder.
Please, Senor Burton, do not talk like that. It frightens me.
Are you sure this is the place you were supposed to meet this prison guard?
It looks like the place I met him before.
Senorita Martinez,
Yes?
why you do not come alone?
This gentleman is a friend of mine. If you will give him my father's wallet, he will give you the money.
You have the money with you, senor?
Right here in this briefcase.
Give him the wallet, and he will give you the money.
Here is the wallet. Give me the money.
Open it and see if the baggage check is inside.
It is here, senor. I give him the money.
Yes, give it.
Not so fast. How do we know, Miss Martinez, whether that is the right baggage check or not?
But I'm sure of it, senor.
Well, I'm not so sure.
I'll give you the wallet, now give me the money.
Don't worry, you'll get the money all right. If that's the right baggage check.
I don't know what you mean, senor.
I mean that you'll come along with us over to the American side. When the young lady gets her father's suitcase, you'll get paid. And not before.
No, Tirabio!
Get his gun. It's all right. You stay here and guard the gate. He can get out.
That's the last time he'll hit anybody.
After a little twist on that arm will bring them around.
Help! Police! Help!
Go ahead, old man, and yell. It will be the last time.
Oh!
Go ahead, old man. Where did you hide the money?
Well, you'll never get it.
Oh, yes, I will.
I don't think he will. Drop those knives.
Who are you?
I'm Captain Braddock of the Racket Squad.
Down here in Mexico?
And these two gentlemen are Captain Gual and Sergeant Batista of the Juarez Police Department, whom you can thank for saving your life as well as your money, Mr. Burton. If it hadn't been for the excellent police work on the part of the Mexican officials, Charles Burton would have died that night because someone, in his case his wife Edith, wanted to get something for nothing. The members of that particular gang are serving long sentences in prison. But for every confidence operator that we apprehend, 100 remain at large, waiting, spying, planning, conniving, and searching for their next victim. Will it be you? I'm closing this case now, or rather the courts will. But there'll be others, because that's the way the world is built. Remember, there are people who can slap you on the back with one hand and pick your pocket with the other. And it could happen to you.